identifying their strengths and weaknesses, giving tailor-made strategies so they could rise up from the difficulties with their awareness of where they're weak and where they're strong, and moving forward with that. And it's amazing with that simple combination how life can transform. And your children are in front of you and they're having difficulty. And we need to find out why. Okay, you're like, okay, I'm going to get information on how this child does when we're doing this task. One of the ways that we can get accurate information is investigating, and we're placing time to gather the data. First thing that I usually do, actually when I'm working with students and my clients, is I go down kind of like a listing when I'm assessing them. First, the listing is, are they alive? Because if they're not breathing well, because they have asthma, or if they have allergies going on, and maybe the child has like a stuffy nose, and maybe it's turning into a headache, and maybe that's taking a lot of energy, and he can't hear very well. So, there's a lot of factors going on physically. Next thing I kind of go through is processing-wise. Can they hear? Can they see? Can they write? Can they understand what you're saying? Is their language intact? Can they hear what you're saying? Do they understand what you're saying? Are they able to repeat what you're saying? Can they see what you're showing them? Can they draw what they're showing? Do they have the correct energy? Do they know the letters? Do they have the right implements to do what you want? It's just on and on and on. So as you're investigating the facts, you can see there's many areas to a child. Now, sometimes I'm testing for certain processes, so I want to know if they're weak or strong. Also on this page, I have a lot of questions that you can ask yourself as you're investigating. From preschool all the way up to high school, investigating these kind of questions are key to finding accurate findings, and it's going back to that word, what good is assessment if it's not accurate? And we need to make sure it's accurate, all right? There's always a story behind a tear. There's always a story behind a failure. There's always a story to why you're testing this child. What I'm going to be doing is offering up 5 informal assessments you guys could do. I have it kind of written out for you, but I'm going to be talking off of that. The first one we're talking about is the visual system. 75% to 90% of all learning occurs through the visual system. You're always reading things, you're looking at things, you're looking at the board, you're looking at the book, you're looking at the teacher, you're looking at each other, you're looking at handouts, you're looking at colors, you're using your visual system. And what you might not be aware of is the eyes must team together accurately to clearly see and efficiently work. If they don't work together, it will cause your brain to compensate for that. Expressive writing skills. There's always some way of expressing yourself through a paper pencil task, correct? Well, in my office I have a waiting room and we get monthly magazines. What I like to do to test how well they are able to convey language, I have them select a magazine. You have to make sure there's appropriate pictures in the magazine. So you have them select 2 pictures. Okay? And then you tell them you'd like them to select 1 picture. And for 15 minutes, you allow them to write a story. And you tell them to write the best story they can. And you could give them a hint that a story has a beginning, middle, and end. And that's it. And you just watch it. And you're observing them. You're observing how long it takes for them to formulate their thoughts. You're observing how refined motor coordination is, the mechanics in writing. You're observing to see, do their letters dance on the line? You're observing to see, can they formulate a sentence? Can they formulate their thoughts? Do they have a beginning, middle, and end? In a 15-minute time. How well do they develop their stories? A lot of info with just their own writing, without any direction. Okay? The second part of that is you want to get the other picture that they selected, and then you tell them to verbalize a story. All right? And then they will tell you a story, and before you do that, because you want to give them all the attention, you don't want to be writing and not looking at them as they're talking, get a tape recorder. You're going to write out what they verbalized. And then you're going to compare and contrast. When you do that, you're able to say, oh my gosh, was the process of writing a hindrance? Was it hard to get their thoughts on paper, thoughts down to their pen, versus thoughts to the mouth? And you're taking down all this information in how they express themselves verbally as well as in their writing skills. And you're also able to dictate and understand how well they have their language The other thing is auditory processing. I want you to just come up with 3 simple directions. Go walk to the door, jump 3 times, and come back to your desk. But you're not going to have them do it. What you want them to do is verbalize back, verbatim, what you said. So what that's telling you is, can they recall what you said exactly? Can they get the comprehension of what you're saying exactly, but maybe not recall it in the exact words? But that's going to let you know quite a bit about their auditory processing. For older children, you can even go a little longer in the directions. What I'm trying to say about this is, if they can't handle three directions, common sense, how are they going to handle 40 minutes of non-stop talking? A lot of the audiologists, they just test the physical ear, just like the optometrist tests the physical eye. The acuity needs, can they see, can they hear? It has nothing to do with how the brain is interpreting what they hear or what they see. So it's not like people know, he could hear sounds, he could hear tones, but processing is a whole different bag, all right? If they're confused with verbal statements, directions, and comments, and sometimes I see 2 or 3 stanzas with a student, sometimes they withdraw, they're always very compliant, because they're afraid to have an opinion, especially socially. If kids say, oh, let's go over and hang out by the bushes, are you going to come? Say, oh, okay, where are we going? Oh, sure. They can become very compliant. Or some of the other, I have a little girl that I just recently, first grader, she's a dynamic personality, strong leader in the making. And she just would not let me get a word in edgewise. First grader, adorable little girl. But the truth of the matter is, she didn't like being weak. She didn't like not knowing what was going on. And if she had command of the conversation, then she knew what was happening. It was a red flag for auditory processing, right? Reading skills. Well, my goodness, we do read in school, don't we? We don't just read in our reading class. Reading is everywhere. It's in math, it's in social studies, it's in science, it's in directions, it's on the charts. Reading is everywhere. And all you want to do is diagnostically see if they could read. Okay, so you just make a photocopy of that one page in the reading book that they're at. And what you're going to do is you're going to have that child read out loud to you. Then you're going to get 1 page from a grade lower than you. And then you're going to get 1 page from a grade 2 or 3 grades lower than you, if there is any. And you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to privately, you're going to listen to them read, and you're going to smile, and you're going to try your best to make sure when you're marking that paper, okay, these kids are so smart, that you have a large clipboard and they can't see your marks. Okay, do not use a pen, do not use something hard that's going to go every time they're making a mistake. The kids are so sharp, because I'm across them when they're testing with me, and they're watching my body language. I have to act in front of them, because they're watching by the way I react, if they're right or not. Do you know why? Because they're private investigators themselves. All their lives, they've been taking on cues on how to hide their weaknesses. And so what you want to do is make sure you use a felt pen that's pretty silent. And then you're just going to quietly mark. And what I usually do is fake mark, so they can't get confused. So when they're doing well and I smile, I'm marking. And when they're doing poorly, I smile and I'm marking. And I have the poker face. And that's the best way to get accuracy, because they don't know what you're doing, They're confused. But you have them read, and as they are reading, you're looking at their misreading of words. You're looking at their inability to accurately decode the words. Their lack of fluency, comprehension. Do they skip words, lines, and sentences? Do they hold the book too far? Do they hold the book too closely?
Do they say the words are jumping and moving? You know, do they read with strange head angles or sometimes closing their eye as they're reading? These are all giving you information that you're investigating and taking notes. Good notes to say, okay, something's going on with this process. Math skills, okay? What I want you to do is just take 2 or 3 of the math problems that you're doing and let them perform it in front of you. Watch them. Okay, because that's going to tell you a lot. You know, are they having trouble lining up the columns? You know, is there an inability to set up the problem? We know that there's a whole language in regards to math. You know, the word of is not of in math, it's multiplication. You know, and so learning the language and making sure the children are clear on that. They don't learn it with osmosis. They could have memory problems with facts. You know, we're not talking about accommodations yet. Inability to complete assignment. Now, how long does it take them to finish those few math problems? Do they need extra help? Do they turn to you, go, I don't know what to do, help me, I don't know, I can't remember. Do they need that extra help? Do they incorrectly copy the problems? You know, can they not remember the steps involved? Okay, so these are the things you're looking for when you're taking notes for accommodations. Okay, there's a lot of accommodations you can just use right here. I'm just going to, since I kind of said it, I'm just going to follow through. Memory problems with facts, what's the remedy? Chart, excellent, or calculator. What's the big deal? Is it against the law? Because if it's against the law, we all should be in jail. Because I don't know of any adult who doesn't use a calculator. All right? You know, just the incentive to know that they can get ahead and keep up is going to be an intrinsic motivation to learn more. Is you want to help them hurdle their difficulties so you're not holding them behind.